Welcome. This is Lila, Veronica, and we have Paris Latka here. Paris, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. So as a reminder, this is the Wow, Women Who Own Their Worth interview series with women who are not only owning their worth, but also helping other women own their worth. So today we have Paris Latka, and I'm going to read her bio so that you understand where we're coming from today. Paris is the founder of IAM Health. IAM Health is Intelligent Alignment Movement Health. It's her greatest passion to support people feeling fantastic in their bodies, connected to their hearts, and clear in the mind. She does this through Bowspring Primal movement therapy, myofascia release, which I'm sure we'll hear awesome about today. I've actually experienced her myofascial release technique, and it's amazing. And also holistic nutrition and smart supplementation. I love that. She loves to geek out about fascia, postural alignment, nutrition, movement therapy, and anything else that will optimize your health. All of her work is geared toward increasing the love frequency in our bodies and on the planet. Paris Latka, welcome.
Thank you, Lila. It's so great to be here.
Yeah. So I started this series of interviews, and you were one of the first person I reached out to. And I want to share with everybody why. I've known Paris for quite some time. We trained, practice, and taught the Bowspring dynamic postural alignment at a studio in Denver, Colorado. And I've been able to be a colleague and a witness of Paris's growth and her expansion, not only in that movement system, but also all things health, wellness, and geeking out on fascia together. So Paris, can you share a little bit about, like, first of all, what's fascia?
Great question. Great question. Fascia is the most abundant tissue in the body. This tissue is everywhere. It wraps every fibril of muscle, and there's a bunch of fibrils that actually create a fiber, and so then it wraps the fiber, and there's a bunch of fibers that actually create the muscle itself, and it wraps the whole muscle. So it's from the most microcosm space where it is to the most macrocosm space, and everywhere in between. It's like a 3-dimensional or 5-dimensional webbing that connects our bodies. It's amazing. So it's we're also kind of at an elementary understanding of fascia. So we're really at the beginning phases of understanding how its role in our health and our movement. And it's a really powerful organ. I've recently heard it described as the organ of unity, which I really resonated with. And it's this tissue that's everywhere. It's helping to keep our bodies upright in this moment as you're listening to me and Lila. And yeah, that's a broken down version of what fascia or connective tissue is.
Connective tissue, fascia. So will you share a little bit about, we're going to talk about hydrating your fascia and some of the ways to do that in a little bit, so that we have really, actionable steps for the women in this group. I'm going to check on the message or on the chat to see if anybody's making comments. While I do that, will you share a little bit before we go into the nitty gritty and like, what do we do about hydration in terms of fascia? How did you get into being a fascia geek?
That's also a great question. So I had a pretty significant shoulder injury in 2019. It was diagnosed as a frozen shoulder. And I had sought out a lot of therapies to help me sort of thaw out this shoulder. And it was through my journey of seeking out a therapy that could really help me experience more mobility and freedom in my shoulders that I started to learn about fascia. And I guess more so deepen my understanding of fascia. because it was first introduced to me through the postural alignment system that we both practice called the Bowspring. And I didn't really understand its role in actually creating an injury if my fascia is dehydrated. So it was through a personal sort of, it was a dark night of the soul that led me to the doorway of fascia and understanding its relevance in my life. So through a couple of specific myofascia release techniques, I was able to completely thaw out my shoulder. And now I experience 99% of a full recovery. There's still a 1% little tightness in there, but overall, it's pretty great. And so it was through my injury that led me to working with fascia and understanding it more and sharing the good news about how to support our fascia with other people.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So have you, will you give a few examples of when people don't have fascia that's hydrated? So you talked about a frozen shoulder. What other kind of symptoms or experiences what people may be having that would indicate that their fascia is not hydrated?
Yeah, so we're all walking around with some dehydrated fascia, every single one of us. And we can experience it as feeling tight and stiff in your body. So I'm sure that anybody listening to this can relate. And if you can relate, then, throw some hearts, throw some thumbs up, throw some comments in the box, in the chat to share that. When I wake up, I wake up and I feel a little stiff in my body, and it takes me a moment to work out the stiffness. So the stiffness is a reflection of some dehydrated connective tissue. Our fascia gets dehydrated when we're sleeping through the night, because we're mostly sleeping in just a few positions, but we can be in a position for many hours at one time. And it's that same positioning that the fascia begins to if the body is not moving and it's in that stasis place, then the fascia begins to hold or mold itself to that shape. So our fascia is very malleable. It's like we're clay almost. It's very imprintable. And when it becomes dehydrated and stuck and tight, when the body isn't moving. So, excuse me, just a second.
So I love what she's saying. She said when the body's not moving, the fascia can become dehydrated, and then all of a sudden she had to get up and move. Isn't that
Yeah. That was the mail woman dropping off some mail and my dog freaking out. And so really, the lack of movement, sitting for long periods of time and then standing up and feeling, most people will take their hands to their hips and thrust their hips forward because they feel that tight fascia in their back. And so any sort of stiffness is a reflection of some dehydrated connective tissue. Any sort of trauma to the body, if you had a physical injury, if you've experienced a lot of emotional trauma, that can manifest as dehydrated connective tissue. And any repetitive motion that you're doing, if you're at a job every day and you're doing this, 4 hours a day or something, just the repetitive motion for a long period of time can create dense connective tissue. So when I say dense and tight and stiff, that's all sort of synonymous around this dehydration that we're talking about.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of people have stiffness in some part of their body. I know I sleep where my head is on my shoulder, my pillow is between my head and shoulder, and then I have this hand I like to sleep with my head on my hand. I don't like my face on the pillow. I feel like I can't breathe as much, which isn't really true, but it's this So I notice that when I get up, I have to move a little bit with my shoulder. But what I notice more than anything is around my elbow, that because of this, I have to, move my arms and elbows. And thank goodness I have, tools to do that and open up the body and get rid of that sniffness. Yeah, the sniffness and the stiffness. And so let's talk now. Let's really get into the nitty gritty. I know you have some different ways that fascia can be hydrated. You mentioned movement. So can you go into like the nitty gritty here? Like, what do we do about our fascia if we know we have symptoms like of stiffness and tightness and all of that?
Yeah, that's great. So just as a visual that I know helps people understand fascia more, that will be able to answer this question more easily is if you think of, or if you visualize an orange and you cut the orange in half and you look at the half of an orange and you see the fruit and you see that there's a lot of pulp in there, and it's pulp that is connecting the whole fruit body while also delineating all of the different pieces of the fruit. So we can think of fascia as the pulp in the orange and the muscles or the body inside of the pulp that's like holding it together, and it's simultaneously connecting everything while also delineating things, which is really, really important. So when so if fascia just loves movement. Oh my goodness. Really just the smallest amount of movement, depending on where it is that one is in their life. If they're in a desk job and they're sitting a good 7 hours a day, and maybe they get up for a 20-minute lunch break or a 15-minute break here, then just standing once every hour, if you're at a desk job, even just standing, you don't even have to walk. Standing can sort of replenish the hydration of the connective tissue. Now, if you wanted to be, really zealous and you wanted to take a walk around the office or your home in between different things that you're doing, then that is going to be really resetting to your fascia, which helps to hydrate your connective tissue. And then just diversifying your movement. So it's really important to move in different planes, in different directions. So like opening the side bodies is really valuable to opening and hydrating the connective tissue. Stretching open your hips is going to be really supportive. So wherever it is that fascia is hydrated, then more blood flow is increased into that region. And what we know about blood flow is that's some serious life force energy. It's carrying nutrients into the region and helping to rebuild the muscle tissue, strengthening the connective tissue, and enhancing our nervous system. So just really diversifying the planes of movement is going to be huge for hydrating our connective tissue. So if you're always used to like going to a yoga class and moving in these particular ways, that's really valuable. But to take it to the next level is to open and expand, diversify those planes of movement. That's like the number one thing that we can all do to support hydrating our connective tissue is increase our movement and diversify the planes of movement. Our fascia loves that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So you in your own life, and you train people to do this movement. What about like what we put into our body?
Yeah, that's really big too. But interestingly enough, like we oftentimes equate hydration with water intake, and water intake, it doesn't really seem have that much of a priority. So like we can experience hydrated connective tissue even if we're kind of dehydrated, which is a little counterintuitive. And I honestly don't fully understand, but that's like what a lot of the fascia experts will say about that. So structured water is really valuable at hydrating more of our connective tissue, getting the structured water into, it's like more of like a gel-like state that will absorb more into our connective tissue. if we're eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of foods that are laden with chemicals, so they're grown in pesticides and herbicides, that's just going to be stressful for the body and the digestive system, and it will ripple into the connective tissue eventually, because everything is connected. And it's so upping the quality of our fruits and our vegetables, upping the quality of the water, though that's touching the connective tissue further down the chain of ripples and the chain of command there, it will still impact it. So just increasing the quality of everything will increase the quality of the experience we have in our bodies.
Okay, I love it. So we've got structured water, we've got high quality food. You are a nutrition and supplement expert. You know a lot. Is there anything around nutrition, supplements, anything people can take to support their fascia?
Yeah, great question. So I love bone broth. Bone broth is an amazing healing food, and that is going to be full of collagen and some hyaluronic acid. So that's a great way to get it into your body. That is going to support your connective tissue. If making bone broth you don't have access to that, or you don't want to make it, or you don't like it, then there is a liquid collagen supplement that is greatly hydrating to our connective tissue. And it's greatly hydrating because it's a collagen. So collagen is a structural protein that's more like the scaffolding to our connective tissue. And then inside of the scaffolding is the hyaluronic acid. And so why I really resonate with this collagen product that I've been taking for a couple of years that you inspired me with is because it has the collagen, hyaluronic acid, and chondroitin sulfate all coming from a single source. So we get the collagen adding structure to the fascia, and then hyaluronic acid, which lifts inside of the structure, giving it the hydrated, buoyant quality of fascia that we absolutely love. That's where life gets so buoyant and wonderful. We feel grounded and held in our bodies while simultaneously feeling really expansive and free. And it's those elements that our body's just able to absorb and utilize, like in a really beautiful way, versus a lot of the other collagen supplements that I've come across in my work as a nutritionist. So it's a very high quality product that comes with it's like 3 supplements in one: collagen, hyaluronic acid, and chondroitin sulfate, that our body is able to really absorb and use, that enhances the hydration of our connective tissue. And I really want to emphasize that when our connective tissue is hydrated, y'all, we feel so good in our bodies. Movement becomes lighter and easier. It's not so dense and heavy and hard. So that's just a beautiful experience when we can feel more uplifted while simultaneously feeling grounded in our bodies. It's a beautiful experience. It's definitely a day to celebrate when we feel that way.
I would agree. A lot of the clients I work with, it's, they might in the beginning feel heavy, and then they move toward lightness, and it's like, whoa, they can live more life, have more fun, be more jovial, all of that. So I got a couple more questions for you. Can we talk a little bit about, so we've got movement and lots of movement, different kinds of movement in different planes of space. We've got hydrating through structured water, high quality food, maybe some bone broth, some liquid collagen. And then can you speak now to the therapeutic component of, a lot of people either experience or heard of myofascial release. I've talked to some people who have practiced myofascial release, and they say that the fascia doesn't have directionality. It's kind of a random system. And I'm wondering, can you talk about the therapeutics, myofascial release, and all that a little bit more, and the benefits of hydration with the fascia?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of different myofascial release therapies out there that will focus on different ways to release the fascia. And so if you visualize with me a spider's web, And if you were to pull on one part of the spider's web, you would notice that all of the other strings on the spider's web would become stretched and strained as a result of this one place in the spider's web holding tension. Can we all visualize that together? So we can get, so that one point at the spider's web is where it is that we would be holding certain tension in our body through either a specific injury or through repetitive movement or emotional trauma. But that one place in the body is now pulling, everything else is impacted as a result. And so if we go in and we release these overworked, so oftentimes we're made up of all of our patterns. Every body is made up of their patterns. And so depending on what someone's pattern is and the injury that they're experiencing, I'll go in and I'll release specific places. And it's like this place that's holding on the spider's web begins to let go. And then all of the other strings begin to experience more freedom and less tension as a result. So there's different therapies out there that do that. And one of the therapies that I work with is called kinetics myofascia release. And it is, it's greatly effective at releasing the whole, just allowing the whole body to experience more blood flow, more hydrated connective tissue as a result. So just as a quick example to bring it home is that, who's experiencing lower back pain, right? A lot of people are experiencing chronic lower back pain, and maybe people listening to this interview are, as they're hearing me talk. Oftentimes we think lower back pain is the lower back muscles, and that's a part of it for sure. However, in my experience, oftentimes we get lower back freedom through releasing the quads, because the quads are holding so much tension, because oftentimes the butt isn't doing the work. And so because somebody has to do their work, it's usually the quads and the QL muscles, the lower back muscles, that do the work of the glutes. So when we can get the glutes on board and ask the quads to back off and release the quads, then whoa, so much more freedom comes into the body, because we're just sort of redistributing the network of energy and muscle firing. And, that's just a common ailment and a common solution. So I have a really amazing quad release video that I would love to share with your people, that you can do this at home. You work on a foam roller and begin to release your quads to introduce more freedom into your lower back as a result.
Yes, I want that video. It's like, give us some hearts if you want that video. I want that quad video. I will say I don't really have low back pain because I got the glutes, the booty going, and but I can't imagine that it can hurt to release my quads more.
And especially even sitting, when
I was going to say I do sit quite a bit on the computer.
Yeah.
Working, and so it would be for me a really good end of the day, middle of the day, kind of exercise. So you'll give us that quad video. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Thank you.
And you mentioned something so valuable, Lila. You said, I don't have lower back pain. And so even if you don't have lower back pain, it's so valuable, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's like, well, let's take care of our bodies. Let's keep hydrating the system so that it can carry us into our longevity feeling freaking awesome and super optimized.
I'm all in. I'm all in for that, because I have this dream of one day having geriatric Olympics. I want to host, like, when I'm like super old, I want to have like an Olympics like event every year. And I want to be able to have those quads released, that booty up, the back nice and, limber. So you're going to offer that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's so generous of you. So we'll make sure to put that in the under the video notes, the show notes. So that, and then before we go, will you share a little bit more about, so you're going to offer us that video. How can people get a hold of you? What do you offer in terms of if people want to learn more from you, get support? I had one lady ask Vicky, she's amazing. She said, are you located in Denver? I said, you're in Pueblo, I'm in Salida, but we do visit Denver sometimes. So can you share more about what you offer? How can people get a hold of you before we go?
Absolutely. So I live in Southern Colorado, and I offer a lot of online courses and classes. So that's the baby that I'm breathing a lot of life force into right now. I have a movement course that is extremely hydrating to our connective tissue and really supports us feeling strong, resilient, and simultaneous, really soft and open. Those are qualities of really healthy connective tissue. It's really strong, and it's strong inside of its softness. So the fascia like holds the most beautiful juxtaposition and is like a definite fulfillment of the paradox of life. You're like, how does it embody all of this simultaneously? But it does. So I have a movement course called Your Brilliant Body, and it's a primal movement course. And then I work with clients in Pueblo, Colorado. I sometimes travel to Denver. I don't really see clients up there. I would be willing to if the opportunity came to light. But yeah, I see a lot of clients here in my studio in Pueblo. You can follow me online, join my newsletter. I touch base with my people quite a bit, sharing tips and tricks on just how to enhance our state of being so that we can feel elevated inside. And then when we know, when we're feeling elevated inside, then we begin to see and ripple out and emanate a more elevated world in our external reality. So I think it's really monumentally valuable for life.
Oh, I love it. So the quad release video, we'll get your links under the show notes as well. And then if anybody needs help with nutrition, supplementation, anything like that, you can help too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. All right, Paris Latka. I must tell you, you look fantastic. You look bright, you look energized. Your hair is looking phenomenal, right?
Oh my God. So I just have to share, like, this hair is because of the liquid collagen. I'm not kidding. Like, I couldn't grow it out past here. This was a couple of years ago. It would just stop growing and it would get all thin and stringy. And now it's thick and full, and like it's my hair that keeps me coming back to the liquid collagen and all of the other ways that I don't even feel it because I just feel really good. And I know it's just enhancing that state of being. But thank you, Lila, for that reflection. I totally receive it.
Yes, you look beautiful. All right, everybody. I highly recommend follow Paris. She does lots of great content online. Join her newsletter. I'm actually going to join your newsletter. I didn't even know you got a newsletter, girl. I'm going to join.
I got a newsletter.
Yeah, and we'll put
my game.
That's so good. That's so sweet of you to be so generous with your community. And thank you for owning your worth, and thank you for helping other women own their worth. And I just want to remind everybody, this is your time to own your worth. Step up, get support if you need it, and we're here for you.
Thank you.
Bye.